Caught on camera, black cashier surprises everyone. What he did next will shock you. Face screaming in fear, don't blink or you'll miss it. It was a quiet afternoon at the small neighborhood grocery store. Sunlight streamed in through the front windows, casting long shadows across the polished floors. The hum of the refrigerators and the soft chatter of a few customers created a calm, almost mundane atmosphere. Behind the counter stood Marcus, a young black cashier known in the neighborhood for his quiet demeanor and friendly smile. He had worked at this store for over 3 years, and though he wasn't the loudest person in the room, he had a way of noticing things that others didn't. Today, Marcus was manning the register alone. His manager had stepped out for a quick errand, leaving him in charge of the small store. He scanned items, smiled at customers, and exchanged small talk here and there. He was good at what he did, though most people rarely gave him more than a passing glance. To the regulars, Marcus was just the polite young man behind the counter, handling the everyday routine of groceries and small-town transactions. That's when Mrs. Thompson walked in. She was an elderly woman in her late 70s, small and frail, with silver hair neatly tied in a bun. She shuffled slowly, using her cane for support, her eyes scanning the shelves for items she needed. Marcus noticed her immediately. He always tried to be attentive to older customers. Mrs. Thompson was a regular too, and though they had exchanged smiles and brief greetings before, today something felt different. As she approached the counter with a few items in her basket, Marcus greeted her warmly. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Thompson. Did you find everything okay?" She nodded, her eyes twinkling slightly. "Yes, dear, just these few things, thank you." Marcus began scanning her items, carefully placing them in a bag. But as he worked, he noticed a subtle hesitation in her movements, a small flinch whenever she reached for her wallet. Something didn't feel right, though he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Meanwhile, unknown to Marcus, a security camera above the counter had been running. It wasn't unusual, there were cameras all over the store, but today it would capture something extraordinary. The lens, cold and mechanical, silently observed every detail, every subtle gesture that might go unnoticed in the hustle of everyday life. As Marcus handed Mrs. Thompson her receipt, she fumbled with her wallet, dropping a few coins on the counter. "Oh, I'm so clumsy today," she muttered apologetically. Marcus quickly leaned down, helping her pick up the coins. "No worries at all," he said gently. "Take your time." Then, as if prompted by some instinct, Marcus noticed that one of her bags was heavier than it should be. Curious, he asked, "Do you want me to carry this to your car for you, Mrs. Thompson?" Her eyes widened slightly, touched by the offer, but she shook her head. "Oh no, I can manage, thank you though." Marcus nodded, but he didn't push. He returned behind the counter, preparing for the next customer. But just as he did, he noticed something. Mrs. Thompson's hands trembled as she tried to open her wallet. It wasn't the usual frailty of age, it was something more subtle, a hint of embarrassment or worry. "Mrs. Thompson," Marcus said softly, leaning across the counter, "is everything all right? Do you need any help with your payment?" The elderly woman hesitated, then sighed. It's nothing, dear, just a little mix-up with my cards, I'll figure it out." Marcus could see she was struggling, and without another word he did something unexpected. He gently reached out and with the utmost discretion offered to cover the cost himself. "I can take care of it," he said. "You don't have to worry about a thing." Mrs. Thompson's eyes filled with tears, a mix of relief and gratitude washing over her. She tried to protest, but Marcus shook his head with a reassuring smile. "It's no trouble at all, consider it a little help from a friend." As he paid for her items, Marcus's gesture was simple, almost invisible to anyone who might have been watching from afar. But the camera, silent and impartial, recorded everything. Every smile, every hesitant hand, every look of relief and surprise on Mrs. Thompson's face was captured in high-definition clarity. When she finally collected her bags, Mrs. Thompson paused at the door. She turned to Marcus, her voice shaking slightly. "Thank you, you have no idea how much this means to me." Marcus smiled, shrugging modestly. "Just doing my job, ma'am, I'm happy to help." But it wasn't just doing his job. It was a moment of humanity, a spontaneous act of kindness that revealed Marcus's character far beyond the uniform he wore. It was the kind of gesture that makes strangers feel seen, that restores faith in the goodness of people, even when no one is watching. As Mrs. Thompson left, Marcus returned to the counter, unaware that the security camera had caught every second of his compassionate act. Later, when the footage was discovered by the store manager, it would shock everyone. It wasn't just a routine transaction. It was a story of empathy, courage, and humanity that unfolded quietly in a small grocery store on a seemingly ordinary day. And in that footage, anyone watching would see it clearly. A young black cashier, completely unaware of the recording, went out of his way to help an elderly woman in need. His actions were so genuine, so selfless, that the video would eventually make rounds online, leaving viewers amazed, touched, and deeply inspired. People would comment, share, and marvel at what Marcus did, not because it was extraordinary by the standards of heroism, but because it was extraordinary in its normalcy. In a world where so many acts of kindness go unnoticed, here was one that couldn't be ignored. By the end of the day, Marcus returned home, exhausted from the shift, unaware that his simple, heartfelt gesture would soon reach thousands, even millions of people. It was a quiet triumph, a reminder that true impact doesn't always come with fanfare. It comes from moments of sincere humanity, captured by chance, recorded by fate, and shared with the world. The next few days at the store passed uneventfully, or so it seemed. Marcus went about his work with the same quiet dedication, scanning items, bagging groceries, and greeting customers with his usual warmth. But there was a subtle change in the air, one he couldn't immediately place. It wasn't something he saw, it was something he felt, an almost imperceptible shift in how people looked at him. It started with glances from regular customers. Some smiled a little longer than usual. Others whispered among themselves, their eyes occasionally flicking toward Marcus. He brushed it off at first. Maybe they just noticed him more, maybe it was nothing. But then things escalated in ways he hadn't anticipated. It began one morning when the store manager, Mr. Jenkins, called him into the small back office. Marcus's stomach sank slightly. He had no idea what this could be about. Was there a problem with the register? Had someone complained? "Marcus," Mr. Jenkins began, eyes wide and a little unsteady, "I need you to see something." He handed Marcus a tablet, the screen already displaying footage from the security camera. Marcus frowned. "Footage of what?" Mr. Jenkins just shook his head. "Watch." Marcus leaned forward and there it was. The moment from a few days ago, the encounter with Mrs. Thompson, played back in crisp, undeniable detail. At first he didn't recognize himself. Every motion, every expression was magnified in the video. He saw the way he had carefully helped her coins from the counter, the gentle way he'd carried the heavier bag, the kind, reassuring smile he had offered her. And then he noticed something he hadn't realized in the moment. The subtle way his presence seemed to calm her. Her shoulders relaxed, her eyes softened, and for a brief moment the weight she carried, both physical and emotional, seemed lighter. "Marcus," Mr. Jenkins said, his voice shaking slightly, "do you know what this means?" Marcus blinked, confused. I just helped her, that's all, I don't." But Mr. Jenkins interrupted him. This is beyond just helping. People are noticing, customers are talking about it, some of them have even been sharing the video online." Marcus felt a strange mix of pride and anxiety. He had never sought attention for his actions. He had done what he thought was right simply because it was right. But now, without warning, that private moment of compassion was being broadcast for everyone to see. Online, Marcus echoed, disbelief in his voice. "Yes," Mr. Jenkins said, leaning back in his chair. "Someone uploaded it to social media. It's already getting views, a lot of views. People are calling it inspiring. They're talking about the kindness in a world that doesn't always show it. Marcus, you went viral." The word hit him like a jolt of electricity. Viral. He had never imagined that something so simple, something so ordinary, could suddenly draw such attention. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. Over the next few days, the store became a whirlwind of activity. People began coming in just to see Marcus in person. Some wanted to shake his hand, others just wanted to say thank you. Cameras and phones seemed to appear everywhere, capturing every smile, every gesture, every movement. Marcus found himself in an unexpected spotlight, one he neither sought nor felt prepared for. But amid the growing attention, tension began to build. Not everyone who watched the video reacted positively. While many praised Marcus for his kindness, a few commenters online twisted the story, misinterpreting it, making assumptions, and even leaving harsh, judgmental remarks. Marcus, usually calm and collected, felt a prickling unease each time he read the comments or heard whispers around the store. And then came the confrontation. One afternoon, a middle-aged woman entered the store, her expression sharp and accusatory. She stormed up to the counter where Marcus was working, slamming a hand on the counter. "I saw that video online," she said, her voice rising. "How dare you interfere with someone else's transaction? Who made you think you could just pay for her things?" Marcus froze for a moment, taken aback by the aggression. He opened his mouth to explain, but she wasn't finished. You can't just go around doing whatever you want and expect no consequences. Other customers began to watch, some murmuring among themselves, creating a small crowd around the counter. Marcus's heart pounded, but he remained calm. He looked the woman in the eye and spoke softly but firmly. I didn't do it for attention, he said. I didn't do it to be recorded. I just wanted to help, that's all. Mrs. Thompson needed help and I gave it. The woman's eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, an elderly man in the crowd spoke up. Young man, that's exactly what this world needs, people willing to help others. Don't let her words shake you. His calm support seemed to diffuse the situation slightly, but the tension lingered. Marcus felt the weight of the growing scrutiny pressing down on him. Every action, every smile, every gesture was being watched, judged, and discussed. As the week progressed, the video continued to spread across social media platforms. News outlets picked up the story, interviewing store staff, neighbors, and even Mrs. Thompson herself. She gave an emotional recount of the event, describing how Marcus's simple act of kindness had brightened a particularly difficult day for her. Her story touched the hearts of countless viewers, sparking a wave of admiration for Marcus. Yet the rising attention brought new challenges. Marcus received messages from strangers, some expressing gratitude, others criticizing him. Some offered opportunities, jobs, appearances, interviews, while others tried to exploit the story for their own gain. It became a delicate balancing act, navigating the attention without losing sight of the simple values that had driven his actions in the first place. And just when Marcus thought he might find a moment of calm, the store received a call from a local TV station. They wanted to feature him in a segment, highlighting his kindness and the impact it had on the community. Marcus hesitated. He hadn't asked for this attention, and yet the story was bigger than him now. By the end of the week, Marcus found himself standing in the middle of the store, cameras rolling, lights shining, and phones capturing every move. He realized that the moment he thought was small, private, and insignificant had sparked something much larger than himself. It wasn't just about him helping Mrs. Thompson. It was about reminding people of the power of compassion in a world that often seems cold and indifferent. The rising action of Marcus's journey wasn't just about fame or recognition. It was about the challenges that come with standing out, the courage required to remain true to one's values in the face of scrutiny, and the way a single act of kindness can ripple outward, touching lives in ways one could never anticipate. And as Marcus prepared for the live interview, he took a deep breath. The store was buzzing, the lights were bright, and the cameras were rolling, but deep down he knew one thing: he had stayed true to himself, and no amount of attention, praise, or criticism could change that. What would happen next? How would Marcus handle the mounting attention, the unexpected fame, and the pressures that came with it? That was a question that no one could answer yet, but one thing was certain. The world was watching, and Marcus's story was only just beginning. The day of the live segment arrived. And Marcus felt a mix of nerves and quiet determination. The store had been transformed for the interview. Cameras were positioned strategically, lights blazed down from above, and crew members moved briskly back and forth, adjusting microphones, testing angles, and coordinating the shoot. Marcus, in his simple cashier uniform, stood near the counter, trying to appear calm while his heart raced. He had never sought attention, yet here he was, the center of it all. The viral video had turned his ordinary act of kindness into a story that had captivated an entire community. People had shared it millions of times, leaving comments that ranged from heartfelt praise to disbelief and even harsh judgment. The world had watched him without his knowledge, and now they were waiting to hear from him directly. The host of the segment, a cheerful woman named Tara, approached him with a microphone. Marcus, thank you for being here today. The story of you helping Mrs. Thompson has gone viral. How are you feeling? Marcus took a deep breath. Honestly, overwhelmed. I didn't do anything extraordinary, I just tried to help someone who needed it. Tara smiled warmly. Well, Marcus, that's exactly why people are inspired. It's the simple acts of kindness that make the biggest difference. Can you tell us what went through your mind that day? Marcus nodded, recounting the moment as it had happened, the way Mrs. Thompson had struggled with her coins, the heavy bag she carried, and the instinctive decision to help. As he spoke, the cameras captured every detail: his hands, his expressions, the sincerity in his voice. But just as the segment seemed to be flowing smoothly, an unexpected twist occurred. The door to the store opened abruptly, and Mrs. Thompson herself appeared, leaning on her cane but moving with determination. The The camera crew quickly adjusted to include her in the frame, and the tension in the room skyrocketed. "Marcus," she called softly but firmly, her eyes glistening with tears. I had to see you in person again." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He had expected the interview to be about him, not a reunion with the woman he had helped. But as she approached, he noticed something shocking. She wasn't alone. Behind her stood her daughter, and then, to Marcus's astonishment, a small crowd of local residents had followed, holding signs that read, "Thank you, Marcus," and "Kindness Matters." The camera crew scrambled to capture the scene. The store, once quiet and mundane, had transformed into a stage for something far bigger than anyone had imagined. Marcus felt a mix of disbelief and awe. Mrs. Thompson reached the counter and gently took Marcus's hand. "I wanted to thank you again," she said, her voice trembling, "not just for helping me, but for showing me and everyone else that kindness still exists in the world." The crowd erupted in applause, and Marcus felt a lump in his throat. He had never expected such a response. His actions, simple as they were, had touched lives in ways he could never have predicted. But the climax wasn't over. The host, Tara, looked toward the camera with a gleam in her eye. "Marcus, we've learned something incredible. The video of you helping Mrs. Thompson has reached over 10 million views worldwide. People are sharing it with messages of hope, and many have said it has inspired them to do something kind for others. Marcus, you've started a movement without even knowing it." Marcus's mind reeled. A movement? He had merely helped an elderly woman. And yet, in this moment, he understood the power of genuine action, of compassion shown without expectation of reward. Then came the most shocking moment of all. A man stepped forward from the crowd, Mrs. Thompson's grandson, whom Marcus hadn't met before. He handed Marcus an envelope. "This is from my grandmother," he said. "She insisted you have this." Marcus opened it carefully, revealing a handwritten letter. Mrs. Thompson's voice quivered as she read aloud. "Dear Marcus, your kindness reminded me that even in difficult times, humanity shines through. Because of you, our family has felt hope again. Please accept this gift not as payment but as a token of our gratitude." Inside the envelope was more than words. It contained a small check, enough to cover unexpected expenses Marcus had been worrying about quietly. He had never asked for anything, and yet here was a tangible acknowledgement of his selfless act. Tears welled in Marcus's eyes. He looked around at the crowd, at the cameras, at the people who had come together because of something he had done without a second thought. The overwhelming sense of love, gratitude, and connection was almost too much to bear. And just when the emotional intensity seemed to peak, Tara asked one final question, her tone hushed. "Marcus, what do you want people to take away from your story?" Marcus paused, searching for the right words. "I want them to see that it doesn't take a hero to make a difference. Every small act of kindness matters. You never know how much your actions can impact someone else's life, even in ways you'll never fully see." The camera zoomed in on his face, capturing the raw sincerity in his expression. In that moment, Marcus became more than just a cashier. He became a symbol, a reminder that compassion, when acted upon genuinely, has the power to change the world. As the segment concluded, the crowd erupted into applause once again. Marcus, still overwhelmed, smiled humbly, shaking hands and accepting hugs. The viral video, which had started as a simple recording of a quiet, everyday act, had blossomed into a story of hope, inspiration, and human connection. Outside the store, people lingered, talking animatedly, sharing their own stories of kindness inspired by Marcus. The local news crews packed up, but the energy lingered. Marcus finally stepped outside, taking a deep breath of fresh air. He looked at the sun-drenched street, the people around him, and felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He hadn't sought fame, he hadn't sought recognition. He had simply done what he felt was right. Yet in doing so, he had touched countless lives, reminded people of the power of empathy, and sparked a movement that would ripple far beyond the walls of a small grocery store. And as Marcus walked home that evening, he realized something even more important. The world needed more kindness, more courage, and more people willing to act without expectation. What he had done for Mrs. Thompson was just the beginning. The climax of the story wasn't the viral video, the applause, or even the recognition. It was the moment Marcus understood the impact of genuine human compassion and how one simple act could change the lives of many. In that moment, Marcus became not just a hero in a video, but a hero in real life, proof that sometimes the most extraordinary things happen when no one is watching, yet the world can't help but notice. After the cameras packed up and the crowd slowly dispersed, Marcus found himself standing alone in the quiet store. The hum of the refrigerators returned and the familiar calm of the place wrapped around him, but Marcus wasn't the same as he had been when he started his shift. Something inside him had shifted. He thought back to that simple moment with Mrs. Thompson, the coins she had dropped, the heavy bag she carried, the hesitant way she had smiled at him. That one ordinary act of kindness had spiraled into something extraordinary. It had touched countless lives, inspired strangers, and reminded a community that small gestures matter more than people realize. Marcus picked up the receipt from that day, now slightly worn and creased, and smiled. It was just a piece of paper, but it symbolized something far greater, the quiet power of compassion. He realized that it wasn't the viral video, the applause, or the recognition that truly mattered. It was knowing he had made someone's day better, even in a small way. As he locked the store and stepped outside, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in warm golds and pinks. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling a profound sense of peace. The world was big and messy, but he understood something simple yet powerful. Kindness could ripple outward in ways he could never fully see. Walking home, Marcus made a promise to himself. He would continue helping others, not for fame, not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. And in a world that often feels harsh and indifferent, he knew that every small act of care, every genuine smile, every hand offered in support mattered. Somewhere in the distance, Mrs. Thompson waved from her porch, holding a small bouquet of flowers she had picked herself. Marcus waved back, smiling. Their lives had intertwined for just a brief moment, but the impact of that encounter would last far longer than either of them could imagine. And in that moment, Marcus understood the ultimate truth. Heroes aren't always in movies or on TV, they can be anyone doing the right thing when no one is watching. And sometimes, even the smallest act of humanity can change the world. With a calm heart and a quiet smile, Marcus walked on, ready to continue making a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. The end.